and just people just die everywhere. And it was horrible. Welcome to Watching the Horizon. I'm Jake. So we all have ideas of what life is going to be like immediately after an SHTF event. Obviously, depending on the event that actually occurs will dictate somewhat exactly how it all falls out. Let's say you're prepared. Let's say you make it through the initial event. There was a report released by Congress talking about the United States being hit by an EMP attack. Like, this is a real thing. This isn't just some sort of conspiracy thing. Like, there was an actual congressional committee investigation, took a look at it, and I don't remember the exact number, but it was at least like 90% of the United States population would be dead after the first year. And wow, it was a little eye-opening, a little disheartening. Goodness gracious. Oh yeah, that's not coffee. It's my weekend today. So here we go. We've got this report that says after the first year. They didn't say after the first day or after the first month. They said the first year. They were anticipating that should an EMP hit, and I would argue really any large SHTF scenario, there would be a pretty significant loss to basic services. I feel like there's one thing in particular that preppers just aren't really considering. It's not on their radar, and I mean it. I do belong to a small group, and I had put out a survey. I wanted to know, kind of generally speaking, where we were all at. We're very loosely organized, and we're not all like die hard or anything, but we all are of a preparedness type mind. I put together like a 23 question survey, some basic stuff, and I put it out there. And this is, how much food do you have in your house? Or more specifically, it was, if you weren't able to go to the grocery store, how long would you be able to, feed your family? What about the water? If something happened to the water, how many days of water do you have currently? How would you handle, heating or cooling? How would you handle sewage? How would you handle, showers, that kind of thing? It was anonymous. It's cool. Don't worry about it. But man, the one question that nobody seemed to really have an answer for, or at least not a good answer. I got a few kind of wild ball answers. Specifically, it's not sexy, it's not fun, it's not cool. There's no gadget. I'm talking about sewage. I said, what would happen if the water and or the sewage stopped flowing? If you're in a city or suburban area, you can't flush your toilet anymore. What do you do? And it was an open-ended question, and I just wanted to hear what people's responses were. Now, I had an expectation of what I thought people were going to say, but I was floored at some of the answers. A lot of people said they would just dig a hole in their backyard. And I'm like, most of you people are suburban. So if there's no water coming in and you just start digging holes in your backyard, there's a lot of people in these areas. I mean, generally speaking, it's not like it's downtown urban kind of thing. But if all of a sudden all of your sewage and wastewater just gets put in a hole, like not really regulated, people are gonna die. And it'll be a excruciating death. Things like typhoid and all other manner of nasty bugs. It really won't take long. So after the survey, like I said, it was anonymous. So I don't know, who had answered what, and most of the people, had made some sort of comment about, just digging a hole. A couple of people said they would, put it in a bucket, but they never really said what they were going to do with the bucket. I brought it up. I talked about it. I said, hey guys, what's the deal with digging a hole? A lot of you, said that. A lot of people don't realize that the sewage you put into the ground has to be of a certain depth. There's reasons for that. Mostly because things have a tendency to crawl back up, on a microscopic level, on a parasite level, on a bacteria level. That could make it dangerous for anything on the surface, including rain. So if you get sort of a sewage pit kind of thing going over here, and it's not properly managed, if you need to collect rainwater or something like that, it might contaminate a well. A lot of people are going to start relying on wells. You're going to really contribute to a really large problem, and that's really one of the big things, because once you get sick, without any sort of basic services, things go downhill real quick. Any medical supplies are going to get used up instantly, and you're going to have a real hard time. That's where that 90% number comes from. And it was, a lot of basic hygiene stuff. So I would implore you, I beg you, please, get a handle on, as far as a prep is concerned, what you're going to do with your sewage. Here's some ideas. You can dig a hole, that's fine, but you kind of need to know a little bit about your layout. Now, if you don't have any neighbors, really anywhere near you, you're fine. Go dig yourself a hole at least 6 feet deep. 6-foot hole, get yourself an outhouse, and you're good to go. That's the way my grandparents did it. That's the way a lot of people do it today who live, way out in the boonies. That's fine. But if you have neighbors, semi-suburban or even urban, you can't just start digging holes, because it will literally come back to haunt you, and it won't end well. Not right away. You won't notice it right away, but it will. A composting toilet, probably one of the easiest, one of the more popular setups that you can do. It can be something as low tech as, a whole bunch of 5-gallon buckets with, a toilet seat. Composting toilets are easy. Like, if you had a whole bunch of, say, 5-gallon buckets, which you can get for free right now. Go to like a Chick-fil-A, or you can go hit up, your grocery store, get yourself a nice 5-gallon bucket, and put a toilet seat on it, and you're good to go. Now here's the deal. Don't let this video be the only research you ever do. Look into it a little bit more. You can do it a couple of ways. You can either fill up the bucket and go dump it in a pile, a humanure compost pile, and that compost pile needs to do its thing for at least a year and a half. If you really want to be safe, give it 2 years, and it'll be fine. And then it's just regular compost, regular dirt. It's totally safe. It's fine. It won't hurt anybody. Good to go. The other option, if you're squeamish about the whole thing, is go ahead and get those buckets, but get a bunch of them. You know what I mean? Like, get a whole stack of buckets going. And then that way, whenever you fill a bucket, put the lid on, go take it to the far end of your property, and then just let it sit there. Again, for a minimum of a year, probably looking at like a year and a half, 2 years. But don't open it. Just let it be. Let it steep. And then that way, it's fine. And then after 2 years, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to like turn it over. You don't have to play the compost game or anything like that. Just leave it, and then just go get the other bucket. And then that way, you're just rotating through buckets. I saw one guy, he got, I think it was 2 or 3 55-gallon buckets, and he kind of half buried them. Now, with a composting toilet like that, you got to put some sort of other material like sawdust or wood chips or, whatever. But, when it was half full, he'd switch over to the other bucket. And then when it got half full, he'd go back to the first one, because that first one had some time to mellow out. There's no stink. There's no crazy nastiness, going on. And then once it was full, he just put the lid on it and moved on. But the whole point is that there was like 3 people living on the property, if I'm remembering the video right, and filling up a whole 55-gallon bucket, it took some time. It took like 6 to 8 months or something like that. I don't remember what, but apparently he wasn't really sure either, which is why he set up more than one and kind of rotated. You could do something very similar. The idea is that you're keeping it contained. You're keeping it all together. You're not letting it get out into the water system. You're not letting other animals get into it. Maybe you're fine. Maybe you're good. Maybe you've got it all worked out. You got it all figured out. But what about your neighbors? If you live in an area, like I said, that's, suburban or even semi-suburban, you've got neighbors and a fence, and you wave and you see each other on the street kind of thing. Well, they are just as dangerous. What are they doing? So in the event of an SHTF scenario, don't just be mindful of literally where you're going to put your crap. You're going to have to make it your business. Other people's crap is going to have to be your business. Because honestly, it could kill a lot of people. It will kill a lot of people. So, be a leader, be part of the community. If something like that should happen, that should be something that really, sticks out, that, hey, there's a right way to manage waste, and, be the person that saves lives. I mean, like I said, it's not heroic. You're not running into a burning building or anything like that. But if you can get the people in your area to kind of all get on board and, educate them and understand just how serious of a problem it really is, like I said, you're going to save a lot of lives. And don't take my word for it. I mean, just open up your history book. Typhoid Mary, that's literally what we're talking about here. We're talking about poo in water supply, and just people just die everywhere, and it was horrible. The people who were spared were the ones who worked at the beer factory, because they drank beer, not water. I think there's something to that. So they were less likely to get sick. Anyway, all right, this got on long enough. I'd like to know, what types of dangers do you foresee that most people don't think about? I mean, yes, there's everyone's got, the big ones, but nobody in my group really took the sewage thing seriously. I'm only one guy. I only had a couple of ideas. I'm sure there's other stuff that I'm not even thinking about. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right, keep your eyes open.